Welcome to Hong Kong Confidential. I'm Jules Hannaford and I'm your host. I'm an Australian woman and I've been living in Hong Kong for many years. I'm a mother, a teacher, an author, and I want to share my wisdom and the wisdom of others with you. Thanks for joining me and I hope you enjoy the show. Hi Confidants, I want to tell you about my Patreon page. I've joined Patreon in the hope of getting sponsorship for my Hong Kong Confidential podcast. Patreon is a great way for my listeners to get on board and sponsor me with monthly payments, and that goes towards my production costs and rewards for my members. If you're interested in checking out my Patreon page, please go to patreon.com and search up Jules Hannaford or Hong Kong Confidential. I would really appreciate you visiting my page. A note, dear listener, that some people may find the last part of this podcast distressing as the topic of sexual abuse is discussed. If you feel you need support, please call the Samaritans in Hong Kong on 2896 0000 or contact a crisis line or lifeline in the country that you live in. Today I'm here with Kay Ross from the Playground of Possibilities. Hi Kay, welcome to the show.
Hi Jules, a delight to be here.
Thanks very much for joining me. Kay, can you tell me a little bit about what the Playground of Possibilities is?
Yes, it's a concept that I came up with about nearly 4.5 years ago. And what I mean is that life is a playground of possibilities. It's a phrase that just popped into my head one day. I was sitting on my living room couch at home in my little apartment here in Hong Kong. And I'd been listening to or reading some of the podcast or reading a book or something that had similar phrases like the field of possibilities or the field of potential, or there's all kinds of phrases that are used in the world of personal development and healing and people who are interested in quantum physics and the nature of reality. And those phrases didn't sound quite right with me. They didn't really resonate with me. And then suddenly the phrase, the playground of possibilities, just popped into my head. And I just thought it was really fun and I liked the alliteration of it. Then I realised, well, yes, of course, because life is a playground of possibilities and I like having fun. And I'm an improv actor, an improviser. And then almost immediately I thought, I want to make a deck of cards with questions to ask yourself. Because for many years, since I was about 30 years old, I have been interested in and passionate about personal development and healing and spiritual growth and all kinds of nice things like that. And I've read a gazillion books and listened to countless podcasts and webinars and been to conferences and workshops, and I'm a workshop junkie, and had private coaching or healing sessions with a wide variety of different kinds of healers of all kinds. And so the whole idea of psychology, I've been fascinated by psychology for years. That's partly why I'm a marketing consultant, because I'm fascinated about why people do what they do. So I thought, I want to create a deck of questions for people to ask themselves so that they really look at and observe the thoughts and beliefs and stories that they have going on in their head about themselves and the world. Because we all have them, don't we? Everybody, not just in Hong Kong, but it's the human condition. We have this, I think everybody has this voice in their head of either they're very consciously aware of it or there's buried deep in your psyche somewhere. We all have these stories, thoughts and beliefs about ourselves that we've made up as a result of everything that's ever happened to us. And unfortunately, a lot of them are not very useful.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're very negative usually, aren't they? Yeah. Obviously people have positive thoughts as well, but sure. It's the negative ones that take their toll.
Yes. And, it's all very well to say, use affirmations and think positive. And that's great. And yet still these little negative gremlins are lurking in the background, sabotaging you, me, us. And so I thought, I want to prod people a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit uncomfortable, but I think it's useful to really look at and examine what those thoughts are lurking in the back of your mind that really determine your behaviour. I mean, if you don't think something's possible for you, you won't even attempt it, will you?
No, that's right.
Yeah. And so we have beliefs about ourselves, like I'm not good enough is probably the biggest one that so many people have, or I'm too much of something. I mean, a friend of mine said to me the other day, she worries that people don't like her because they think she's too crazy because she's very effervescent. So her belief is she's too crazy.
Sure.
And, we have beliefs about the world or life. Like, there's this, life's a bitch and then you die. We all have these beliefs about how the world works. Like, life is either fair or it's not. Life is an adventure playground. Life is a playground of possibilities. Or life is a prison sentence. Or, we might have a negative belief, a not very useful belief, that pretty much determines the way we go about life and the way we interact with people, our beliefs about ourselves and other people.
So how do your cards then help people to change this negative dialogue that they have going on in their minds?
Well, I think the first step is to become aware of what these thoughts and beliefs and stories are about yourself and the world, and to ask yourself, well, okay, well, is that useful? Is that getting me the result I want in my life? And if not, do something different. I mean, that might sound simplistic, but honestly, if it's not working, do something different. And it could be as simple as, like, one of the questions is, what would be possible for me if I asked for help? Because I've always been sort of myself as a very independent, competent person. And sometimes it's been hard to ask for help. And I know a lot of very confident, competent women and men who feel the same thing. So that's not always very useful. It doesn't get me the result I want in life.
So if you ask yourself, what would it look like if you asked for help? How do you answer that question?
Well, I can't tell people that. They have to figure that out for themselves.
No, but I'm saying if you said that was a question that you asked yourself because you are a confident, capable woman. So if that was a question you used.
Because I'm an intelligent person and I know I can work it out. I can brainstorm. I can talk with friends about it. I can get feedback. I can get coaching. I can think about it and go on Facebook, go on Google. I mean, there's
so many endless possibilities.
Read a book, listen to a Hong Kong Confidential podcast. There's
plug number one. Yes, awesome.
There's infinite sources of information out there to give you ideas about what to do. And I guess in a way that's where my improv angle comes in. I perform improvisation, which means performing without a script. And life is improvisation. We don't get a script every morning. So improvise, experiment, try a new behaviour that you haven't done before and see whether that works better than your old behaviour.
That's awesome advice, and I think it's something that we could all kind of take away from this. Try something different. If you do something, a repeated behaviour or a repeated pattern that's causing negativity, switch it up and do the opposite.
Yeah.
In fact, I do that with students that I talk to. I get them to play the opposite game.
Yes.
So if you're thinking, I'm worthless and not worthy of help, what's the opposite thought?
Yeah.
I am worthy and I'm worthy of help.
Yes.
And so
absolutely.
It's a similar thing.
Well, I do a live workshop with groups of people using the card deck and the concept of the playground of possibilities and with some improv games. And there's a very famous improv game, well-known improv game called New Choice, which is really what you've just described, where in pairs, one participant will say an actual true old limiting thought or belief or story they have about themselves. And the other partner, all they just say is new choice. And the first person then has to come up with the opposite or a variation on that feels right for them. And they can tweak the wording. They can try several different versions of it until they find a phrase, a variation on the wording that really
resonates with
in their
them.
Gut.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, the challenge is to go out and live that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So with the cards, you came up with a whole bunch of statements which will challenge negative thinking. Can you give me some examples of some of and in fact, can I draw some? Can I draw a card and see what comes up and then I'll answer it?
For those of you who can't see us at home, I'm shuffling the card deck, which I have in my hands here. And can you think of, you don't need to tell us, but think of an issue or a habit or thought or belief or something that's going on for you or you've had for a long time that you know is not working very well for you. Yeah, so just keep that in mind as you're thinking. Well, you shuffle the deck for yourself.
Okay.
somehow in that process, one card will jump out at you and say, pick me, pick me.
What would be possible for me if I gave myself permission to have fun? Interesting.
And does that apply? Can you see any relevance of that to how you would apply that to your issue or question?
Yeah, I was thinking that I don't say no when people want me to do something or help with something or do another job or do another task. So I'm very, very busy. So it does fit in with that. I mean, of course, I do have fun, but my fun time is limited, I guess, by the amount of time that I have to work. So what would be possible if I gave myself permission to have fun would mean creating more time to do that, I think.
Yes.
So that's really good.
And what would be fun for you to do?
I think activities like going to the beach and hanging out with friends. I mean, this podcasting thing is great fun for me and meeting new people. I'm loving it. So I've actually made that change already because I used to, this is turning into a therapy session, ladies and gentlemen. I used to spend a lot of time watching reality television. So I've shifted away from that already by having this creative pursuit.
Yes.
But I am starting to feel exhausted trying to balance everything.
Oof.
So that's interesting that came up. Yeah. Okay, I've got one more thought. Can we do?
Of course.
Bear with us, dear listener. Let me do one more.
Yes.
This is fun. So do you do this one-on-one with people or do you do it in big groups?
Sometimes in groups. Like I have a group of girlfriends in Discovery Bay and we often get together for lunch on a Sunday and everybody has a go. Okay,
there's a theme here. What would be possible for me if I consistently adopted a posture of joy, openness and expansion? That's so interesting because I've been finding recently that I get a little bit, not anxious. I'm not an anxious person, but I do overly worry about things sometimes. And to let go of that worry and just feel joyful and expand and be open and stop judging and worrying would be a really great thing.
Yeah.
But that's nothing to do with my question.
Well, no, it is. It's about the question.
Yeah. Oh, no, the next one that I had in my head. It's about my first one.
Oh, okay. Another one? Okay.
All right, we'll do one more. What would be possible for me if I let go of shame?
That's a big one for some people.
That is a big one.
People.
Well, I don't know that at my age whether I feel shame. I'd have to ponder that more.
You.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well
I
done.
don't know that I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I feel very open and able to talk about things. Oh, no, I can think of something. I can think of something. Okay, and it's going to be the nature of my next podcast that I do.
Oh, good. Okay.
So yes, I can think of something, but I'm going to leave it there, and then when I start my next podcast, we'll take it from there, and I'll remember that then. It's to do with the internet dating. That's what it's linked to.
I've got one of those too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yes. Okay. That was awesome.
So I came up with all of these questions when I first thought about creating a deck. I sat down on my living room couch and I had a piece of paper and it felt like just like you call it a divine download. Just that all these questions just kept streaming into my mind, and I madly scribbling down these questions that I created this card deck. And that was 4.5 years ago. And ever since then, every day I keep thinking of new questions based on...
And do you add them in?
Based on whatever's going on in my life or something I've heard or something I've read or something I see.
What's people's responses been to the card deck?
They love them. It's great. People, when they pick a card, sometimes I give people the chance to use them one-on-one or in groups. And they often say, oh, that's the perfect card for me right now, the perfect question. It's like almost like magic that somehow the right card pops up for them. And I've got lots of comments. I post a question every day on Facebook and on Twitter and get lots of nice comments on there and just people's comments about the difference it's made for them. Yeah.
Can you tell me about the crowdfunding that you've been doing to actually get the cards? Because these are beautifully handmade at the moment.
Yes. So I've created one unique handmade prototype deck, which is the one I've been using to show people and in workshops. And I've just recently done a crowdfunding campaign to raise some funds, not a lot of funds, to do an initial print run of the deck, because people keep asking me, well, where can I buy one? Where can I get one? I want one. Or I want to give one to my sister or to my bodyworking healing clients or coaching clients or my students even, secondary school students. And so I decided to do a crowdfunding campaign, which was an emotional roller coaster and a fantastic learning curve. Over the past few years, I've been reading a lot and studying crowdfunding and how it works and getting my head totally confused. couple of years ago, I met a fantastic Australian woman here in Hong Kong, Nicole Denholder, from Next Chapter. She created this crowdfunding platform, especially for female entrepreneurs, and it's based here in Hong Kong, which is fabulous because I can actually meet with her face-to-face and ask a million questions. And so I spent several months preparing and planning and thinking and strategizing and designing the rewards of what I would offer on the crowdfunding campaign and researching pricing and how much does it cost to send a deck to Timbuktu. And at one point getting all my knickers in a twist and getting very frustrated and overwhelmed because it is a big project to run a crowdfunding campaign. It's not as simple as just putting up a page and sitting back and waiting for the money to roll in. So I did it. I launched a crowdfunding campaign and it succeeded. I've raised the money from people all over the world, some people I don't even know. And so I'm in the process of getting the deck actually printed.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
So will you be actually then selling the decks as well?
That's the idea.
Great.
Yes.
Oh, congratulations.
I'll be
that's
selling
really
them
brilliant.
online, and also hopefully I'll be going to like fairs and events and at workshops and wherever I go, and hopefully in some bookshops as well.
Well, I would certainly be interested in getting a deck as well. They seem great.
Yes.
I'm converted just by the 3 cards that I pulled before.
Good.
Can you tell me why it's important to explore and transform your thoughts and beliefs and stories about yourself?
Because it helps you to thrive and be happier and healthier and to get what you want in life and to make a difference. Because those old thoughts and beliefs and stories about yourself and the world, they're not working. I don't tend to use the words positive and negative. It's just, are they working for you or not? Are they getting you the results you want in life? Are they helping you to feel light and joyful and happy and healthy and thriving? Do they help you to thrive or not? Ever since the beginning of time, I think people and philosophers have been talking about the importance of examining your thoughts and changing them. Now, I don't consider myself a Buddhist, but I've read lots of stuff about Buddhism, and if I am explaining it correctly, they seem to put a lot of emphasis on letting go of those thoughts that sort of like clouds floating through your head and not attaching to a thought, but letting it go and just being serene. That would feel nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would feel really nice.
Yeah.
And I think we often don't recognise the connection between the mind, the body and the spirit.
Yes.
And having everything working in synergy and having that positive belief and positive stories about yourself will help with your well-being overall.
And one thing I wanted to explain too is that this process with the cards, it's not just a cognitive process about your thoughts and changing your thoughts. It is, as you say, it's body, mind and spirit. So some of the questions are about your bodily energy, your relationship to your body, your vibration, your vibrant sense of health and energy. That's the bodily side of it. And then also there's a spiritual component to it, whether you call it God or goddess or the universe or whatever. I just call it the universe. It's about connecting with that higher power.
Yeah, and you talk about tapping into the abundance of the universe. What does that mean?
Well, it seems to me that the universe is constantly offering us an abundance of choices, opportunities, challenges, adventures, people, things. It's up to us to choose the ones we want and say, oh, okay, yes, that one looks nice. I'll try that one. I'll take that one. And then taking responsibility for those choices, taking action on those choices and taking responsibility for your behaviour, your results, not blaming your mother or your lover or your boss or the economy, the government, but taking responsibility for your life and listening for those taps on the shoulder from the universe, the serendipity, the taps on the shoulder that say, oh, you're going on the wrong track there, or yes, you're on the right track.
And we sometimes don't tap into our intuition, do we? And we don't really listen to those little red flags or those the niggles in the back of our mind. And we need to really get in. And it's about connecting with that.
Intuition, yes.
Can you give me some examples of how people you've worked with have taken bold actions to improvise new and more resourceful ways of being?
One person who came to me, because I'm also trained as a bodyworker healer. I trained in a methodology called body harmony, which is, it's not Reiki, it's not massage, but it's energy work like any other kind of body work. And one young man came to me because he was having a dilemma about his career, which career path he could choose. And he also said his back was really sore, his spine, his back muscles were really tight and tense. So we did some body work, and then he chose a card from the deck, which was what would be possible for me if I showed my vulnerability. And he went off happily. And about a week later, he emailed me to say his back pain had gone. He said he felt much lighter, and that he had confidently chosen a career path, which was not the one he thought he was going to choose.
Oh, how interesting.
Yes. And then I've had comments from people like, I'm quoting here, "The questions that you post in the playground of possibilities keep me positive, productive and purposeful." And another person said, "I have been listening to my body's messages as per the card I picked from the playground of possibilities. I'm learning a huge amount about myself and learning a great lesson for life." And then someone else said, "Kay, thanks for all your inspiring posts. I believe they are so helpful to get clear on your focus and what is important."
They're lovely quotes, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do you recommend that people think about one of the playground of possibility quotes each day and focus on that daily?
That's certainly one way you could use them. You could pick a card first thing in the morning and use that as your theme for the day. You could pick one a week for 52 weeks of the year. You could do it 10 times a day if you want. Really, it's something you could use any time whenever you've got something going on in your life that you want some guidance about, or sometimes even you don't have a particular question or issue going on that you want some guidance about. You might just say, "Okay, universe, what's your message for me today?" Like people use angel cards or other kinds of cards like that, just to get some guidance.
I believe that you run personal development workshops in Hong Kong aimed at transforming your limiting thoughts, beliefs and stories about yourself in the world. Can you tell me a bit about those workshops?
Yeah. Well, it's called Life is a Playground of Possibilities, improvising more resourceful, joyful ways of being. So it's a practical, experiential workshop, not a PowerPoint lecture. And we do first of all, we start with some bodily awareness exercises of breathing and scanning your body and releasing tension, sort of a meditative process. Just some exercises, some walking, moving exercises, exploring how different emotions and thoughts feel in your body. Where do you feel it in your body? Like if you were to walk as if you were really, really happy, how would you be moving your body? What would that feel like in your body? And what would it look like if you were really, really, really depressed? And you could feel it in your body, and observing other people and how people are feeling. And then we play some improv games, not to teach people how to tell jokes and be comedians on stage. That's not what it's about. It's about taking the principles and skills and mindset that improvisers use on stage, taking them off stage and looking at, well, how do they apply in life? And they absolutely do. And I've found that I've been performing improv for 9 years, and absolutely thinking and behaving with an improvisational mindset helps me.
It helps build resilience, doesn't it? And it helps you think on your feet, and it helps you to be more decisive, and it helps you to be more flexible. There's lots of things out there that improv can really help with.
And it's about teamwork and leadership and creativity and innovation and being comfortable with uncertainty. That's a big one. Being comfortable with uncertainty, because you don't know what's going to happen next. In improv, we don't have a script. In life, we don't know what's going to happen next. And about making confident, bold decisions and taking action, listening for the feedback, changing course if necessary, taking the next step, listening for the feedback. That's improvising.
This is one of the reasons why drama is such an important subject in school for students as well, isn't it?
And it's so sad that budgets for that kind of thing are cut so much.
Yeah, unfortunately they are, but it's still offered in many schools, and it's something that I always recommend to students for building self-confidence and for personal development and things like that. It's so good for them.
Well, I count myself blessed because I got involved in theatre in my early teens. I joined a youth theatre group in Adelaide called the Saturday Company. It was run by the State Theatre Company of South Australia.
I know it. I'm from Adelaide as well. We're both from the same city, so it's interesting hearing our accents.
We didn't know each other then.
Very similar.
So I've been involved in theatre since then. I did a year of drama at Adelaide University, and I've been involved in amateur theatre, and I've done theatre, amateur theatre, musical theatre, singing in a choir here in Hong Kong. And then I started doing stand-up comedy for a while at the Takeout Comedy Club. And then I started doing improv, and I realised I liked improv better because I didn't have to memorise a script. It's a team sport. It's a group of people playing together. And that aspect of serving the best interest of the team is not about one person being the star of the show and telling jokes and getting all of the laughs. It's everybody together serving the best interest of the scene and the audience.
So this actually sounds like a very good corporate team building workshop.
Yes,
I do that.
I do that. That's a concept called applied improvisation, and I'm an applied improvisation trainer. That means taking the principles and skills and mindset of improvisation off stage into life and business. Yes, I do corporate workshops where we focus on teamwork and leadership and communication, creativity. I just did a couple of workshops a couple of weeks ago with some women, 45 women, from a big global management consulting firm. It was fantastic.
Oh, yeah. How cool. Yeah. Oh, that would have been great. And do you see a real transformation throughout the day in the way that people, like the way they carry themselves and how they sort of seem to feel about themselves and how they present themselves?
Yes. I mean, these women had the opportunity, the experience of speaking up, speaking out, expressing an opinion, which they have to do in their work. And the company, the person who organised the workshop, wanted me to help them build their skills in doing that. So we actually played some games that gave them the opportunity to do that. So rather than a theoretical lecture, it's an actual physical experience.
Which I think people get a lot more out of, don't they, when it's a practical exercise. Yeah. Can you tell me what you mean by listen to the wisdom of your body?
Well, the problem is oftentimes we don't. Oftentimes we live in our head and try and analyse everything and think about everything. But our body holds a lot of wisdom. Everything that's ever happened to us, every decision we've ever made is expressed and stored in the physical tissue. And so, if we listen to, our gut is constantly telling us stuff about the state of our health and energy and what we want to do or what we don't want to do. It's the gut intuition. If you look at someone's physiology, their habits, the way they are in their body tells you a lot about what they believe. Like, do they shrink or do they expand? That's that question about the joyful expansion that you got. Our body gives away our secrets, even if we don't see it for ourselves, but other people can see the habits, like maybe my jaw is always tense or I hold my hands in a fist and I'm not even aware of it because I've been doing it all my life, for example. So being aware of that, your body is constantly sending information to itself and to your head, to your mind, if we will only listen to it, pay attention to it.
And how does this link with your healing work?
Well, that's absolutely what I do. That's what the body harmony work that I do is all about, is about helping people to notice and be more aware of what's actually going on in their body in the moment. It's about being present in the moment. Like improv is also about being present in the moment, mindfulness, and actually really noticing what's going on for you in the moment.
So if I came to you to tell you, now this is true, my listeners out there, if I came to you to tell you I've got this pain under my arm that's been there for a couple of months, I've had it checked, there's no lymph nodes, no mass, no cyst, no nothing, no infection. What does this signify, that I've had this ache and this pain in my underarm for 2 or 3 months?
Okay, well, first of all, I have to say I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to diagnose anything medically for you.
Well, what would you do if I came to you with this issue?
I would have you walk a little bit first, so I can just observe your structure and how you move, how you breathe, how your connection to gravity. Something about the way you move will capture my attention. It might be your armpit, or it might be your knee, or your left pinky, or your foot, top of your head. I don't have a map that says it has to be that.
Sure. So you're using your intuition a lot.
All of my senses.
Okay, right.
And somehow in that process, a part of your body will call out to me. It could be the armpit, or some other part will call out to me, like the cards will call out, pick me, pick me. And then I would have you lie down fully clothed on a bodywork table, like a massage table, but I'm not massaging you. And I would then just very consciously, carefully place my hands on your tissue and just hold it there and listen. So I'm not massaging you. I'm not forcing you or your tissue to do anything it doesn't want to do. But by placing my hands there, I'm bringing your attention to that part. So you can explore internally, oh, that's interesting. What's going on there? Is it tense? Is it tight? Does it feel sad? There's often an emotion attached to it. Is it angry? And somehow in the process, it unwinds.
It is a little bit like Reiki, isn't it? But you're actually touching, whereas Reiki's above.
Well, yes, and I'm not actually transmitting energy from somewhere to you through me. It's more bringing your attention to that part.
Okay, I understand.
And so you then have insights about how you hold your body or what's going on in your body. And oftentimes in that process, an insight will crop up like, oh, yes, I've been doing that for 30 years. Or I remember an incident where that happened. Or I was going to say completely different, unrelated insights might happen as well. So that's where the mind and body sort of healing comes together. Yes. So I'm not healing you. I'm facilitating the process of you coming to realizations for yourself and changing your behavior. It might be some purely physiological thing about
it could actually be the way I sleep.
The way you hold your shoulder joint.
Can you tell me a little bit more about how improvisation can help in business and in life?
Infinite ways, many, many ways. And it's actually used not just in business. In many countries around the world, it's very popular, particularly in North America, Europe, Australia. There's a lot of people who do it there. Using what's called applied improvisation, not just in business, but also in the medical system, like working with stressed doctors and nurses in the emergency room, with police forces and youth, police and youth working together. It's used with carers of Alzheimer's patients. It's used in the military, in conflict resolution, in disaster preparedness and response, in so many different fields where people need the skills of listening and adapting to change, nimble responsiveness to change and the unexpected in disaster situations, for example. In communication skills, like between police officers and at-risk youth, for example. So facilitators like me work with those kind of clients using improv games to help them build their skills and to improvise and practice and rehearse and develop new ways of being, new ways of behaving and interacting with each other.
It occurs to me that the US police force could really use this.
Yes.
Couldn't they?
They do. In some cities they do, yes.
They do, because they seem to be the police force that are killing the most people and responding in the most undesirable ways. But of course, that's only a small percentage of people, but it seems that we see a lot of it in the media.
Well, it's in the news, yes. Yes.
So why do you think playfulness is important in our lives?
Oh, well, because life wouldn't be very much fun or nice without it, would it? Imagine life without play. I mean, as children, we learn by playing. And unfortunately, that kind of gets drilled out of us after a few years of school. But we learn by playing. And where would life be without joy and fun and play? I wouldn't be very interested in that.
Yeah. I think it is so important. Humour and fun, really, and joy it's so important. I feel for people that go through life that don't experience much joy or playfulness because they're missing out, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, something as simple as playing frisbee with your dog. It doesn't have any logical purpose. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that you recommend, that people get out doing activities that bring them joy, whatever it is.
Yeah, whether it's dancing or playing with children or crocheting, whatever. Something that gives you fun and joy. Yes.
Before you started the Playground of Possibilities, what were you doing?
Well, I'm self-employed. I've been in Hong Kong for 24 years. Career has been in the field of marketing. Initially in Adelaide, I started my career in the field of arts and tourism, and I started learning about marketing, and I became fascinated by that. And I've worked in several industries along the way, in the local government and in museums and arts and tourism festivals and bookshops. And I moved to Hong Kong in 93 before the handover.
What brought you here?
Adventure, challenge, opportunity. I didn't have a job to come to, but I had a British passport, have still, because I was born in Scotland, migrated to Australia when I was 3 years old. My family moved to Australia, to Adelaide. And so I came here before the handover with the intention of staying for a while, and I'm still here. I didn't have a job to come to. I just came and saw opportunities and worked at the South China Morning Post for a while. I was the editor of a specialist trade magazine about hospital management for a while, and then started doing more freelance stuff, and I've been doing that ever since. And so mostly what I do is writing and editing of English language marketing material, usually taking a company's existing marketing material, which is usually not very good, not very effective, and I kind of sprinkle my magic editing marketing dust on it and turn it into words that work. And in the process, I educate and coach and train my clients about marketing, because in my opinion, everything they do is marketing. Everything a company or an organisation does influences people's perceptions, motivations, expectations and experiences of the product or service or the company or the brand. So it's like the way the receptionist answers the telephone, or the cleanliness of your delivery trucks, or the user-friendliness of your website. Everything
it's all important.
Is marketing, yes.
Hong Kong Confidential is brought to you by Teresa's Turkish Towels. Teresa imports the finest 100% Turkish cotton towels that dry very quickly, making them perfect for Hong Kong's humid climate. Say goodbye to the traditional smelly and stinky towels and try the colourful and fresh selections available online or in Teresa's Wan Chai store. Use the promo code CONFIDENTIAL online or mention this podcast when you visit in person to receive $100 off your entire order when you order 2 or more towels. With 100% satisfaction guaranteed or your money back, the only thing you've got to lose are the musty smells that permeate traditional terry towels. Visit www.hkturkish.com in order to get the address and directions to Teresa's semi-hidden location. So I believe that you have a Me Too story. Would you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes.
We're segueing onto something completely different now.
I saw, of course, all the Me Too memes online, on Facebook in particular, and I debated whether I should write something, and eventually I decided to. And I posted a long post about various incidents, just a few examples, various incidents in my life. The first one was, I remember when I was about 5 years old in Adelaide, and one of my uncles sat me on his knee, on his lap, and was jiggling me up and down quite energetically and tickling me. And I hated it. It felt quite painful after a while. It wasn't funny at all. And I kept on yelling at him to stop, and he didn't, and he was just laughing, and he kept on going. And as he was jiggling me up and down on his lap, I even at that age, I knew that there was something a bit off about that, and I could feel the bulge in his pants. And the other adults in the room were just laughing, and it just felt really icky. And even now today, I hate being tickled. I cannot stand being tickled. So beware, anyone. Don't
tickle Kay,
or I'll punch you on the nose. And then probably a couple of others involving my dad. I listened to one of your podcasts about a very brave Indian woman who talked about her experience with her dad, and that it was just heartrending. A couple of instances with my dad when I was about early teens, sort of just hitting puberty. And in our house, well, I should first explain that my mother had died she died when I was 6. So there was 5 kids and dad. And
Gosh.
He was what you call a charming in public, but a monster at home. He was a sociopath, really. Honestly, he was violent. He had a violent temper. The slightest little thing could set him off. And he used to beat the crap out of us if he got in a bad mood about some slight little thing. And so he was the kind of person you could not say no to because he would get angry. And so when I was in my early teens, he refused to let us put a lock on the bathroom door, and or even a shower curtain around the shower. And one day I was having a shower and he just barged uninvited into the bathroom and had it turned his back to me and pretended to be looking in the mirror to look at a pimple on his face or something. But the mirror was adjustable, so I could see that he was kind of adjusting the angle of the mirror so that he could see me in the mirror. And I could see that he was looking at me while I was in the shower. And you can imagine, just even remembering now makes me feel
very uncomfortable,
icky, because of the kind of person he was and the power he had to beat the crap out of me. I didn't say anything, but he could see that with my body language, I was sort of not happy about it. And he said, "Oh, you should be proud of your body," as if that justified his perving at me. And even just remembering that now, it's just so wrong and an abuse of his power. Yeah. And then another instance, or many instances with him, also during my teens, was late at night, he would come into my bedroom and take me back to his bed and make me masturbate him. Again, something that I didn't have the power to say no to. Now, he never actually had sex with me, thank God, but still.
Yeah, still absolute violation.
Yes. He died a long time ago. After I left home at the age of 18, I had almost no contact with him. And he died, over 10 years ago. But still, I've tried to forgive, and I have moments where I do, and then moments where I still get really angry about that.
And is that something that you ever addressed with him when you were an adult?
No, because
you didn't have contact.
Totally, no, and he lost contact with the family as well.
How have you been able to overcome all of that to be such a positive leader in the community, helping people?
Lots of work, lots of healing, lots of coaching, lots of body work, energy work. Yeah.
Did it affect you in a negative way when you were a young adult?
Even throughout my childhood, yes. The way I was brought up and the dynamics of our household meant that I learnt very quickly to be a people pleaser, to be acutely aware of his moods and of making sure that he was happy, that he wouldn't suddenly go into a temper tantrum. So it was like everything revolved around him, and everybody around him had to be acutely aware of him, so that I learned to have that radar to read his body language very quickly and notice, is he in a good mood or is he in a bad mood? Is he going to get angry in a split second or not?
Did you feel like you were walking on eggshells?
Walking on eggshells, yes.
Yeah.
And, that makes it very hard to say no to people in power, authority figures. And I guess the strongest message and my siblings and I got from him, certainly for me, what the message I got was not good enough, not worthy, not deserving of love or happiness or joy or success or, yeah.
And did your siblings have the same message as well?
Yeah.
So have you done so much work that now that you feel that you are worthy and that you do feel like you've found your place in the world?
Mostly, not always. I mean, I still have my lapses where I doubt myself and I feel not good enough and finding it hard to ask for help. Sometimes still. Yeah,
which you brought up earlier. Yeah. And do you think that's part of why you've created this? Because this is a self-healing thing as well?
Heal thyself, yes. It's,
right.
I'm sure, because knowing what I've gone through, it breaks my heart when I see other people in pain. Yeah.
So because of what you've been through, you feel like that you've got that real sense of empathy and that real connection with people, and so that you're able to really help them.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
It is a nice way of putting it, and it's a nice way of finding something good in the terrible.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that you've got this talent, because it is a talent in a way, or a skill to really be able to generally, it's a gift to be able to really connect and really empathise and even to the point of healing.
Yes.
So that's a positive that has come out of all of the negative.
Yeah, because, I mean, if I hadn't started becoming interested in personal growth and healing, I certainly wouldn't be where I am today, because, for a long time, up until I was probably about late 20s, early 30s even, I was angry with the world.
Were you in self-destructive mode? Were you? Did you drink or?
No. I never got into drinking or drugs, but there was.
But you were
always
just angry.
Behaviour. Like, I remember thinking for a long time, I always had this behaviour of when I met somebody new, my first thought was, what do I have to do to make this person like me, or at least not hurt me? Yeah.
And you can see where that comes from, can't you?
Yeah.
Could you see at the time where that came from? Could you make that connection?
Not in me. After a while, it occurred to me, after I started doing some healing work and reading lots of books, I kind of put two and two together. It's been a long process of noticing those behaviours and having trusted people point them out to me. Yeah.
And as what you went through as a child, has it affected your personal relationships throughout your life?
I'm sure it has. I mean, how could it not?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, yeah. In many ways, I feel blessed with my life. I've had the most amazing adventures. I've had the opportunity to travel to many interesting places. I've met amazing people. Like one thing I love about living in Hong Kong is the opportunity to meet interesting people from all over the world.
And I can certainly feel your energy and your joy. You've got a real joie de vivre about you, which is really lovely.
Yeah, thank you.
I asked you whether what's happened to you when you were a child affected your relationships. Did you ever get married and have children?
No, I haven't done that. And I sometimes wonder, or sometimes people have even asked me, well, there must be something wrong with you. Why aren't you married? And I wonder about that. I sometimes feel a bit ashamed, maybe. And then I think, well, no, it was a choice. I've created a life for myself. I don't have kids. I love kids, especially little kids. I get on really, really well with kids. I love just laughing and smiling with little kids on the MTR. It's so much fun. But the thought of being responsible for one 24 hours a day is scary. I've got lots of lovely nieces and nephews, and I'm blessed with them. But no, I don't have any kids, and I've never been married.
Why do you think you felt ashamed that you hadn't had children?
Well, because there's so much societal pressure that one is supposed to get married.
Is the shame more linked to not being married than having children, is it? Or
both, because they usually go together, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a societal pressure, I think, that women in particular, they're supposed to get married and have kids, and that maybe there's somehow something defective.
Yeah. And especially from our generation, like it's a little bit different today. I think there's more freedom of choice and less sort of social pressure to be married and have kids.
I mean, of course, I've had relationships, but hasn't led to marriage.
And does that make you feel sad, or do you have regret about that?
Sometimes I feel lonely, sure. And I've got lots of other interesting things going on in my life, joyful things. If the opportunity arose, I would certainly consider it.
Yeah.
But I just haven't done it yet. Yeah.
Well, that's maybe something possible in the future.
Yes, definitely possible, yes.
So, Kay, if people wanted to get in touch with you to do any sort of workshops or the healing and body work, or to buy the Playground of Possibility cards, or to actually do some work on the cards with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, I have two websites. There's my main one, my name, kayross.com, KAYROSS.com, which has some information about my marketing work, my performing work, and my healing work. And then I've created a separate website about the Playground of Possibilities, and that's simply playgroundofpossibilities.com without the word the. So playgroundofpossibilities.com.
Great. So any listener out there who's interested in getting in touch with you, whether they're in Hong Kong or somewhere else, they can get in touch with you via those two websites.
Yes.
Kay, thank you so much for meeting me today and sharing your fantastic cards and the work that you do, and a bit of a personal story to show us how you've got to where you are today, which I really, really appreciate. So thank you so much.
It's been wonderful talking to you. Thanks.
Lovely to meet you, us Adelaide girls together.
Yay.
A Day in the Life of podcast by James Dean. James interviews everyday people with extraordinary stories about a particular day that changed their lives forever. Gripping, emotional stories told in detail by those who lived through the events. With 7 billion people on the planet all experiencing the same timeline, yet seeing different events of the world unfold from their individual perspectives, take a listen as they share how events have unfolded for them. The Evolutionary subcast interviews innovators, educators, activists, tech makers, medical and scientific researchers, and others working to build a better society for us now and for future generations. Search for A Day in the Life of podcast and click on the yellow logo to access this awesome show. So that brings us to the end of another Hong Kong Confidential podcast. I'm Jules Hannaford. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll be with me again next week. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please can you go to iTunes to rate and review it. I would really appreciate your feedback. You can email me at jules@hongkongconfidential.net, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Hong Kong Confidential. If you'd like to hit me up on Twitter, it's at Jules Hannaford. I would love to hear from you.